Avali here on Travis's YouTube channel. What? I am here with TSM's mid laner Bjergsen. Bjergsen, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to me. You and TSM just locked in for playoffs at the fifth seed, yes, as fifth seed, off of a pretty rough weekend for you as a team, 0-2. I just wanted to start by asking you about, your performance this weekend and maybe where you fell short.
Yeah, the 100 Thieves game, obviously we could have won in a lot of different ways. I personally had multiple moments, especially in the Baron fight, that I could have kind of single-handedly won that game.
Mm-hmm.
And if that had happened, then this week would have played out very differently. The day game was kind of a little bit sad. I don't know. It was kind of like a slow game. We were playing to scale a little bit because we had the Yumi on our team. We weren't really able to get advantages against the Ornn, so the Ornn always kind of becomes a problem, and we just lost, one or two team fights, and the game kind of blew up in their favor. So, yeah, not a great week for us. We'll be chilling down there in the losers bracket, trying to go all the way from there.
Yeah, especially with that Azir game where you picked up the pentakill. What do you think, I guess, held you back from really taking control of that game after you had built yourself up so big?
I mean, it wasn't really something that I did individually, other than misplaying the Baron fight. It's just when we got the Baron, we weren't really confident in how to break the base with the Baron, so we ended up just not really getting a lot off of the Baron, even though we were up a lot of gold and had the Baron at that point. So we just had to be more aggressive and more decisive about how to use this Baron to break their base, because if we were a really strong team with that Baron, we would just end the game straight up off of the Baron. So yeah, definitely some things to take away from that game.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go ahead. Look, past is in the past. Let's go look at the future. Let's look at playoffs coming in, because nothing's been decided yet. I know we just ended the last day of week 9, but we have Cloud9 at the top. We have FlyQuest. I'm pulling up the sheet because, dear God, there's so many tiebreakers. There's so many freaking tiebreakers. Yeah, there's FlyQuest and EG, and then 100 Thieves, I think, as well. I think Dignitas and Golden Guardians are first. There's so many different freaking tiebreakers. It's absolutely crazy. But the people who are already locked in is Cloud9 at the top, FlyQuest, EG, you guys, 100 Thieves, and then we have room for one more team. And I think it's going to be between Immortals, Dig, and Golden Guardians. So, I mean, with all of that mess out of the way, there's so many different teams. Besides Cloud9, of course, is the big baddie in playoffs. Who do you really see as a competition to look out for?
I think EG has really been stepping it up recently. I think they really found their groove and their style. And I think that Jizuke has been playing really well and playing really well with Svenskeren. So I think just EG has been looking like a really solid team as of late. I think FlyQuest still, they have really good team fighting, and they have these strong individual performances. Like Power Beetle has some really pop-off games. Ignar obviously has some really good games, and I think Solo has been performing pretty well so far as well since they've brought him in. So I don't really know for the rest. It's kind of hard to tell who would come out on top with the rest of the teams, but yeah, those are kind of the strongest teams, which I guess is pretty obvious for most people, but also just playing against them, it definitely feels like those two stand out from the group.
Yeah, and so this is something that we were just talking about a second ago. With this new spring playoffs format and, that kind of like loser bracket where you guys are starting off at, your first opponent is going to be the loser of the first seed, which is Cloud9, against the fourth seed. So if by some miraculous way, the fourth seed takes down Cloud9 in that first spot, your first opponent in playoffs will be Cloud9. So how's that for pressure? Was that something that you had even thought about?
Not really, honestly. So we just played our game and lost a few hours ago, and then we might have had to play a tiebreaker if 100 Thieves lost, so I haven't really looked into who we might play, but I mean, I don't really think it matters. I don't think anyone really cares if you're second place, third place, fourth place. So if we have to face C9 in the first round, then that's just the team that we're going to have to beat. And it's not going to be easy, but if C9 ends up losing to, say, the fourth seed, then obviously they have some weaknesses that they haven't really shown consistently yet. So I don't really know who we're going to play against. I think it's not really going to matter that much from the mix, since I'm going to assume I'm going to take bit of a chance here and say C9 is not going into the losers bracket in the first game. Especially with, I really like how C9 has kind of used their time being locked into first, really experimenting with a lot of different picks and champions and flexibility in the draft and these things. And also from scrimming them, we can tell that they're really like, they have their experimental hat on, but I think they're experimenting and doing the right things, not just like trolling. So I think they're probably going to look even stronger in playoffs because of all the diversity they have in practice and picks.
And you know what? I want to take a step back because I think I was being a little insensitive. I asked you about your thoughts on your performance from this week 9 of the LCS, but just asking you personally, like, how did you feel about your performance in the regular split so far and now leading into playoffs?
I think it's been average, kind of up and down. I think the team performance has kind of been up and down, and I feel like I'm usually the guy trying to keep the team together and making sure that we're on the same page and things like that. So a lot of the time when the team isn't doing well, it's kind of reflected in my own play as well, because a lot of the time I am the one trying to problem solve and figure out how to win the game and things like that. So that's why when the team starts to look really good, I start to look good, and people say that, oh, Bjergsen's playing so much better again towards the end of the season. But it's really when the team comes together, that's when I shine. And I think you're not really going to beat any significant team anyway if you're just focusing on yourself and trying to be like an outstanding player in your role, but the team is not on the same page or not working well together, not having synergy. So that's usually my first focus, and then each individual player on the team will look good if we are on the same page and are playing well, like we did in the C9 FlyQuest week.
I mean, that's always, I say this every single time that I have an interview with you. You always do such an amazing job of talking up each and every one of your teammates, whether it's BB or even Dardoch when he had started and joined the team. So it sounds like, is everyone kind of like, I know that, again, disappointing 0-2 week, but is everyone kind of still keeping their heads up, moving on into, okay, guys, let's refocus and move on towards playoffs, and kind of like keeping that happy or at least positive mentality?
We haven't really had a chance to talk because everyone was kind of off doing their own thing, preparing for a potential tiebreaker game today. So since we realized we're not playing a tiebreaker, I think everyone is kind of going off on themselves, watching the games, thinking about, why we lost, what our weaknesses are, and then we're going to regroup tomorrow night and kind of talk about the things that you're asking about and make sure everyone's heads are high and that we have a plan going into this week and a half of practice so that we can so the 2-0 TSM can show up and not the 0-2 TSM that showed up this week and some other weeks.
Yeah, we need that positive win rate, that 2-0 TSM, the fabled TSM. I mean, yeah, then there's not too much more that I want to bug you about until, of course, you get to go and talk with the teammates and everything. But I think just like a wellness, how are you holding up with everyone being cooped inside?
I'm doing okay. I still feel like I'm not fully adjusted to playing LCS at home, but that's just how it is. Yeah, it's definitely a very different experience. I recently got new glasses that had the wrong prescription, and now my optometrist is closed, so I'm using these old contacts that don't have the right prescription, but I'm doing my best to get by. That's just kind of the world that we're in right now. And it's definitely better now than it was in the first week or so. I think the first week is the toughest of adjustments, not just for playing or anything like that, but kind of keeping sane, being inside all the time, and I try to still go for a run or go for a walk, obviously keeping my distance from people, because I think if you don't get any sunlight at all, it's just kind of hard to stay sane. So I've been trying to figure out what that balance is like for me and how to, because obviously a big part of the game is mental, and if you're not feeling well or if you're feeling isolated or lonely, it can be hard to put as much effort into practice and things like that. So it's something everyone on our team is kind of figuring out individually, and also collectively how to work best over the internet compared to streaming at the office. So.
I mean, I just realized how dumb I am, because the first thing that I should have opened up this interview with is, what made you shave the beard? What happened? Look at this fresh new face. You made me realize it when you said you were in contacts, but like, now you got this beautiful face that you're showing us without the beard. What happened?
Well, usually when I go to LCS, Cass, who does makeup, she trims my
Yeah.
beard, and that is not happening in the foreseeable future. So it was getting really long and unruly, and I had been thinking about taking it off, and I felt like now was kind of the right time to go for it, since I have kind of an excuse. So, um, yeah, I haven't really been picking up too many wins since I took it off, but I did think I just need a little bit of time for the 2017 Bjergsen skill to rise up in me again, and it almost happened in the Azir game. That was the
Yeah.
clean share kill, but it wasn't enough to kill the Nexus. So
It's
hopefully for
almost
playoffs.
there. It was almost there. This is probably a question from Cass. Did you cut it yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty simple.
Oh yeah, you
Just,
did.
just trim it up.
Okay, I know some
Yeah.
people are very particular, like they have the fancy beard trimmers, they have like the fancy scissors, so I didn't know if like, social distancing, you don't want anyone else to do it, but maybe I
No.
could see Parth.
I'm all alone here with my roommate. Trust me, no one is entering my apartment.
All right, well it's good
No
that
one's
you're
coming in or out.
good that you're staying healthy then. Well, Bjergsen, I think that's basically all that I have for you. Is there anything that you want to say to the TSM fans who are super excited to cheer you guys on moving on into playoffs?
Yeah, I know things look kind of up and down, and we've been looking pretty inconsistent. And I think we're working on figuring out what is leading to those things. I don't think it has anything to do with being cocky or unmotivated after our wins. It's just obviously there's a lot of different issues that lead into having these bad weeks, and it's really important that we're able to kind of reset in between the games in playoffs, so that we're not, if we lose the first game, we go 0-3, or if we win the first game, then we're gonna 3-0. It's important to be able to come back and adapt throughout a series. And I don't think it's been our strong suit, so it's really something that we're gonna start really focusing on going into these playoff matches, so we can be the team that's strong and adapting throughout a series. So I hope to show you guys that.
Cocky is never an adjective that I would use to describe you. I don't think I could ever in any way use that word to ever describe you. But Bjergsen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. And for everyone else, if you enjoyed the interview, subscribe. Remember, this is Travis Gafford's YouTube channel. So drop the subscription, hit the button, leave a comment, tell him you think that Kobe should get a cat in the apartment. And once again, thank you so much for Alienware for sponsoring the video.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for watching that video. Very unique times that we find ourselves in. Want to give a shout out to my sponsor Movement. They're based out of Los Angeles, a local business. They actually sent me this collector's watch that they did a limited run on recently. But you can actually save some money by using the link below if you want to grab something from their website. Stuff is really helpful for me. It's helpful for them. I know it's kind of a weird time for all of us, but doing that type of stuff, helping support my sponsors helps me out, even as, perhaps the things that I can offer them aren't interviews from live, giant, filled audience, packed arenas, and instead it's like this type of stuff. That kind of thing really does help me. So feel free to check them out. Even if you just click the link below, it helps me as they see that people are headed over there. So please check them out. Thank you again to Alienware as always. And stay tuned for more content as I make it here at home.